I'm spending summer in the Falklands. The locals call them jackass penguins. You can hear why. Couples bray a duet to strengthen their pair bond. Single males use the same song to attract mates. I'm worried about being bitten, not by the penguins, but by penguin fleas. They infest Magellanic burrows. That's the price they pay to have underground shelters. Pastures and penguins, a classic Falklands scene. Here's another.
Saunders is also home to one of the smallest penguins in the world. This is the landing spot of one of the colonies. And look at this, here they come now. These are rockhoppers.
They've been fishing for 12 hours or so. Now they're surfing ashore. Caught between a rock and a hard place, they can either make a death-defying leap or brave raging surf. Buoyant bodies help them stay on top of the waves. The ribs of rockhoppers are fused together. This bony shield allows them to survive belly flops onto hard rock.
These pint-sized penguins are just 3 handspans tall, about 45 centimetres. They've got vivid ruby red eyes, yellow eyebrows and these lovely golden plumes. They certainly compensate for their lack of size by having a tremendous attitude.
They show true mountaineering spirit. To get home, they must conquer a cliff that's over 100 metres high.
Rockhoppers are true to their name. They usually nest amongst rocks and they hop more than they walk.
These climbers are equipped with crampons. Their sharp toenails give a grip on all but the smoothest of rocks. It's a privilege to watch these plucky penguins. They even use their beaks as climbing axes when they need additional leverage. This is hardly a solo ascent. Every day, thousands of rockhoppers make this climb.
Countless generations of rockhoppers have used this penguin motorway, and over tens of thousands of years, their claws have worn grooves in solid rock.
They've only just dried off from their swim, but before they get to the colony, many of the climbers find making a splash irresistible.
This is a typical feature of rockhopper colonies. A running stream, sometimes a pond. These little guys, they love fresh water, love drinking it and showering in it, don't you?
The waterfall washes their feathers clean of salt. These communal showers are so popular, there's often a queue. Above the waterfall, groups of these mini mountaineers are nearing their goal. The Clifftop breeding colony. And I'm not far behind.
Like most of us, I used to think of penguins as birds of snow and ice, but only 4 of the 17 species live on the Antarctic continent. The rest live in places like this, where there's grass and mud. Look at the state of some of these rockhoppers. There's about 6,000 pairs in this colony, but some rockhopper cities can have over 100,000 pairs. They nest just out of pecking range of the neighbours, and there can be as many as 3 nests per square metre.
Tightly packed penguins produce quite a racket.
There's birds calling all over the place, having squabbles with the neighbours, calling to their mates. And the sound here is deafening. The Falkland farmers, they think it's like a rusty wheelbarrow being pushed at full speed.
I agree with them, don't you? Other residents live here too.
Imperial shags often nest in amongst rockhopper colonies. The penguins are their guard dogs. They're so feisty, they chase away predators that could be a problem to the shags or their chicks. You can't get much cuter than this. It's a nursery, a creche of baby rockhoppers. Parents of the youngsters don't stay behind to supervise the creches. They're all busy getting enough food for their young. But if there's a predator like a skua, these babies will run towards the nearest adult.
The mountaineers are summiting en masse now, and they've made the climb with a full stomach. At one sitting, a chick gets fed over 1/8 of its body weight. That's like me wolfing down 500 fish fingers. The shags are at it too.
I thought penguin chicks took the record for how far they could stick their heads down their parents' throats, but no.
In this instance, being down in the mouth is a good thing. It ensures that not a morsel is wasted.
There's over 250,000 pairs of rockhoppers in the Falklands. That seems a lot, but 50 years ago there was 10 times as many. Nobody's quite sure of why there's been this precipitous decline. Overfishing could have been part of the problem, but now the fishery here is controlled. There should be enough squid and fish for us and for the penguins. So fingers crossed, their population will start rising again.
I'm off to the farmhouse now for supper, but it won't be seafood. I've seen enough of that today. The rockhoppers are made of sterner stuff than me. While I'm snuggled up in bed, they'll sleep standing up on their wind-blown cliff top. The next morning, it's time to move to a new island. Literally, my destination is called New Island. It's home to stunning swimmers and rare raptors. Tony Chater's lived here for 25 years. He knows these waters like the back of his hand. We're on our way to meet another famous Falkland Islander.
We've got company. Can't go too far in the waters around the Falkland Islands without being joined by dolphins. This is a lovely species, Peale's dolphins. First described in 1845 by Titian Peale, an American naturalist, on a voyage in these waters. And they are so exquisite. Look, there's 3 over here.
Many of these offshore islands are uninhabited and still have their natural carpet of tussock grass. This islet is a nursery for the famous Falkland Islander I'm after.
Welcome welcoming party on the beach with the chicks of this bird.
A striated caracara.
No bird of prey is found farther south than these. The Falklands is their stronghold. There's about 500 pairs here.
It's hard to believe these birds are totally wild. The chicks are constantly begging for food. This adult looks like it's heard it all before.
The local name for these birds is Johnny Rook, because when the sealers came here from Europe in the 18th century, they saw them around colonies of gentoo penguins. The nickname for those penguins was Johnny penguins. They saw these dark birds around the colonies that reminded them of rooks from home, and that's why they called them Johnny Rooks. Everyone that lives here, every visitor that comes to the Falklands knows these birds because they've got bucket loads of charisma and they are completely fearless.
In late summer, gangs of juveniles can besiege farms and settlements. This is Carcass Island. Anything left lying around is a target for claws and beaks. Caracaras are insatiably curious. The constant winds here might not be everybody's cup of tea, but at least drying the laundry is an easy task. Unless there's a caracara around. The powerful talons and large feet, which enable them to crush and hold prey, also allow them to walk a tightrope with ease. A handout of sheep offal is a real prize. Over 100 birds can be attracted to a feast like this. They bolt their food quickly. Soon their yellow crops are bulging with meat. I'm moving on, but the Johnny Rooks have sent an envoy to see me off. Along the coast, there's a marine mammal with the weirdest of looks. Dozens of southern sea lions have hauled out here. Most of them are females. There's a few bulls too, with manes as luxuriant as a lion's. They're easy to recognise. The males battled for territory on the beach. Their prize, mating rights with the females on their patch. Successful males will see their pups being born this time next year. So how do the Falklands support the millions of marine creatures that come here to breed? It's because the islands are bathed in nutrient-rich waters pushed up from the Antarctic. These forests of kelp are magical places. For some, they're a playground too. The sea lions play a game of dare. Who will swim closest to me? This is the winner. I've explored New Ireland underwater and on land, but now it's time to move on. I'm flying back to Sea Lion Island, where I started my summer adventure. there's some old friends I need to catch up with.
Spending quality time with penguins is so easy here. The lodge is there, and just here, a huge colony of Gentoo penguins. I was last with them 6 weeks ago when the chicks were really tiny.
They only weighed the same as a mobile phone.
My goodness, they've certainly grown.
Now they're as heavy as a bowling ball.
Both parents go fishing for them. They go around 10 miles from the colony. A fishing trip takes between 6 to 10 hours.
This is the prime time for spectacular feeding chases.
It goes out to sea on an extended fishing trip before coming back to change over with its mate. There's a perfectly clean bird here. Looks like it's just come back from the sea, approaching a bird that's really muddy. I think there's going to be an egg exchange. And there, the incubating birds, the egg's on the ground. That's something that kings closer to Antarctica could never do. If they dropped an egg on the freezing ground like that, the embryo would be damaged. But here in the Falklands, the ground's not that cold. That was a really quick egg transfer. This must be an experienced pair.
They've probably been together for 2 or 3 seasons, so their chances of rearing a chick to fledging will be much higher than a new couple. Their baby should have a good start in life, like this one has.
King penguin chicks are so unlike the adults. When early explorers first saw them, they thought they were a different species and called them woolly penguins. Hello there.
He'll spend 2/3 of his life at sea, so it's important he has strong flipper muscles. It won't be long before he leaves the land for the first time. Other chicks are even further advanced. They've grown survival suits of tightly packed feathers for their icy swims.
At this stage, the chicks always make me smile. They seem half-dressed. The chicks start to lose their fluff when they're about 10 months old, and it takes about 6 weeks for it to completely disappear. Then they're ready for their first voyage into the ocean. Bye-bye. This season's chicks haven't hatched yet. They'll be enchanting, so before I leave the Falklands, I hope to see them.
The kings will incubate for another month. Standing 1 metre tall, they're the largest penguins on the Falklands. Now I'm off to Saunders Island to meet the smallest. I'm excited about the supporting cast that live on the island too.
Thanks, Tom.
Okay.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Saunders is the 3rd largest island in the Falklands. At 48 square miles, it's over twice the size of Manhattan. The man who owns the island, David Pole Evans, has come to meet me. He was born at the settlement here and farms the island as his father and grandfather did before him. He drops me off at a place called the Neck, an isthmus of land that's crowded with wildlife. At the edge of the Gentoo colony, I'm attacked. The skuas could draw blood. They may have webbed feet like gulls, but they've talons like raptors too.
Must be a nest nearby. And there's a chick just close to the penguins. Falkland skuas, they stay around the penguin colonies waiting for any spelt fish, and earlier in the season they'll take eggs and tiny penguin chicks.
Up on the cliffs, other babies look down their beaks at sheep, just like king penguins do. Albatross chicks sit regally on thrones of mud. The nests, up to 45 centimetres tall, are a good vantage point. The babies watch a newly engaged couple forming a pair bond. Black-browed albatrosses are well named, got this dark line above the eye. These delightful chicks, they're about 9 weeks old, and they'll be fledged, taking their first voyages out to sea when they're around 16 weeks of age. A parent visits the chick every other day, and when they first arrive, they do a lot of this, a lot of preening, a lot of getting to know each other. To get food for its baby, and they don't just have to do a trip to the supermarket. They've got a long voyage out to sea. The birds can do a flight of over 200 miles on a single fishing trip. They seize fish and squid at the surface, being very tender with that bill now, but look at the hook at the tip. It uses that to seize slippery prey. Lovely. The parents regurgitating a mush of seafood. They've got special glands in their stomachs which produce this tremendous oil, very rich in vitamin A, and they mix that with the food, so the chick gets a perfect diet. A parent's work is never done. In 2 days, the parent will be back with another stomach full of fish and squid just for you. When the chicks leave, they'll spend over 80% of their lives out at sea. Their home will be the storm-tossed Southern Ocean, an area 10 times the size of the United States. Take a long time to mature, and they won't be back here to breed until they're 6 or 7 years old. Albatrosses are excellent gliders. These youngsters will learn to harness the ocean winds, swooping and skimming over the tops of the waves. But rockhoppers ride the crest of a wave. I'll see them surfing to shore soon.